My family secretly took $50,000 from me and left me behind without a second thought. But they never expected that I'd turn the tables, reclaim every penny, and leave them with nothing but regret. Upon reaching my parents' residence for what I believed was a family gathering, the place was deserted. A note rested on the table, stating, "We embarked on a journey to Florida, utilizing a portion of your savings. Rest assured, you'll manage." I severed ties with them and initiated legal proceedings. Nathan guided his vehicle into the driveway of his parents' dwelling, exhaling as he silenced the engine. His relatives had scheduled a significant reunion prior to their Florida excursion, and despite his demanding work schedule, he had carved out the time to be present. His mother had insisted, "We cannot depart without seeing you, Nathan. It has been too long." This was characteristic. His kin always desired his presence, yet never seemed to value his time. He retrieved his satchel, exited the car, and proceeded along the familiar walkway to the entrance. However, something felt amiss. The house was unsettlingly quiet, devoid of laughter or conversation. He furrowed his brow and tapped on the door, then pressed the bell. No response. He retrieved his mobile device and reviewed his messages. Nothing. Just the communication from 2 days prior. "See you Saturday, 3 p.m. at Mom and Dad's." Eagerly awaiting. A shiver traced its way up his spine as he attempted the doorknob. It yielded effortlessly. Inside, everything was meticulously arranged. There were no bags, no last-minute packing disarray he had anticipated. His heart rate accelerated. He entered the kitchen, surveying the counters until his gaze settled on an envelope bearing his name prominently displayed. His stomach churned as he reached for it. With a deep breath, he tore it open and unfolded the message within. "Nathan, we have already departed for Florida. We wished to surprise you with a much-needed respite from your work, so we handled every detail. The journey is fully arranged, with a little assistance from your savings. You have always been generous. And let us be frank, you are the finest provider in the household. Do not be concerned, we will reimburse you shortly. Savor the tranquil week, you merit it. Affectionately, Mom and Dad." Nathan reread the words, his vision blurring with utter disbelief. They had accessed funds from his account. His hands tightened around the paper as his thoughts raced. He had toiled relentlessly, accumulating his savings through years of sleepless nights and arduous hours, and they had simply helped themselves without inquiry, without a solitary telephone call. A bitter laugh escaped his lips. Of course they did this. This was not an error, this was a resolution, a choice they had made, presuming he would not resist. They had perpetually taken from him, perpetually expected him to provide, but this time they had overstepped a boundary. Nathan stood in the silent dwelling, clutching the letter as his breathing came in uneven gasps. His eyes surveyed the familiar surroundings, the family photographs on the wall, the worn sofa where he had spent countless sleepless nights working late, the dining table where he had endured endless discussions about familial obligations. This was not novel, it had always been this way. This was not merely about purloined money, this was about a lifetime of being exploited, about a pattern that had commenced when he was just a child and had never ceased. He closed his eyes, and the recollections surged back. At 15 years old, in his freshman year of high school, he had finally secured a spot on the basketball team, something he had envisioned since middle school. The coach had drawn him aside after tryouts, patting his back. "You possess potential, Carter. With diligent effort, you could achieve much." He had rushed home that day, breathless with enthusiasm, eager to inform his parents. But before he could even complete his statement, his father had shaken his head. "Basketball? And when precisely do you intend to work?" Nathan had blinked. "Work?" His mother had sighed, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Sweetheart, with your father picking up additional shifts and me managing everything at home, we require your contribution. Your brother needs new attire for school, and your sister's dance lessons are not inexpensive. You are old enough now to assume some responsibility." He had protested, attempted to clarify that practice was after school, that he could still assist on weekends, but they would not listen. By the close of the night, he had consented to accept a position at the local grocery store, bagging provisions instead of executing drills. His aspiration of basketball faded before it had even begun. At 18, he had exerted himself more than anyone, achieving top academic results, balancing his studies and his employment, envisioning a future beyond this unending cycle. Then came the correspondence from MIT, a full scholarship, an opportunity to escape. The acceptance letter had barely left his grasp before his parents seated him. "Nathan, you cannot simply abandon us." His mother's voice had trembled, thick with sentiment. "We are barely managing financially. Your father's hours were reduced, and your brother's college fund is dwindling." His brother, Jeremy, had gazed at his lap, uttering not a word. "But MIT." Nathan had begun, but his father interrupted him. "There will be other prospects. At this moment, your family requires you. College will always be accessible, but we cannot survive without your aid." So he had remained. He declined the offer, enrolled in a local community college, and took on 2 jobs, one at a construction site, another bartending at night. Every paycheck contributed to sustaining the household. By 22, Nathan had finally begun to perceive a glimmer of hope. He had accumulated sufficient funds to relocate, to construct something for himself. Then his mother had telephoned, her voice quivering. "Nathan, we require a favor." It was always a favor. His father had amassed debt on numerous credit cards. It was merely a difficult period. They had stated, "Just until we regain our footing." The sum was staggering, tens of thousands, money they did not possess, money Nathan certainly did not possess. "But you do have a stable occupation," his mother had reasoned, "and you are so responsible. You will devise a solution." And he had. He had depleted his savings, taken on another job, and settled their debt, all while his younger brother, the same one whose college fund he had sacrificed his own education for, was packing his bags for a study abroad program in Paris, fully financed by their parents. Nathan had been too exhausted to feel indignation then, too depleted to dispute. At 30, he was finally in a position where he could breathe. He had ascended in the technology sector, securing a role as a senior software engineer. He possessed a pleasant apartment, a comfortable existence. But the calls never ceased. "Jeremy and his spouse are struggling with their mortgage. Your sister is attempting to launch a business, but the loans are not materializing. Your father requires a new vehicle for work." And each time, it was the same guilt, the same manipulation. "Nathan, you earn more than all of us combined. It is merely a small assistance. We raised you, sacrificed so much for you. Do you not believe it is time you reciprocated? You would not abandon your family, would you?" So he paid, and paid, and paid. And now, standing in this house, empty, forsaken after they had seized his money for their holiday, Nathan felt something rupture. This was not aid, this was not affection, this was larceny. And for the first time in his existence, he was not going to simply acquiesce. Nathan's hands trembled as he retrieved his phone and accessed his banking application. His heart thumped in his chest, a profound, sinking sensation settling into his gut as he navigated to his savings account. The figure on the display made his breath catch, $53,740 gone. His vision blurred, his mind struggling to grasp the reality confronting him. That money was not for extravagant trips or trivial indulgences. It represented years of diligent effort, late nights, missed vacations, the countless instances he had foregone something for himself solely to secure his future. And now, just like that, his family had pilfered it without hesitation. Nathan inhaled sharply, compelling his fingers to compose a message. "Where is my money?" He dispatched it to his mother, his father, his brother, and his sister. No reply. He telephoned his mother, straight to voicemail. He attempted his father, the same. His brother, nothing. His sister, no answer. The silence was deafening. They were not merely ignoring him, they were actively evading him. They had been aware of their actions. This was not an error, an oversight, a misunderstanding, it was intentional. They had taken his money and abandoned him without even the courtesy of confronting him. His stomach churned with a blend of rage and perfidy. He could already envision their justifications. We believed you would be fine. You earn so much money anyway. You do not require it as much as we do. He clenched his jaw, his grip tightening around his phone as he sent another message, this time directly to his brother, Jeremy. Answer your damn phone. 3 dots appeared on the screen, then vanished, then reappeared again. His phone vibrated with an incoming message. Jeremy. Relax, Nathan. It is not as if you are destitute. You are the most prosperous one in the family. Assisting us is simply what you do. Nathan gazed at the words, his pulse roaring in his ears. Assisting us is simply what you do. That was it, was it not? That was how they perceived him, not as an individual with his own aspirations, his own desires, his own right to enjoy the fruits of his labor. No, to them he was merely a resource, an inexhaustible well of funds they could draw upon whenever they wished, a means to facilitate their lives while his own was put on hold. His fingers moved swiftly as he typed back. You stole from me, Jeremy. Another message instantly appeared. Jeremy. Stole? Wow, dramatic much? Mom and Dad said they would repay you eventually. It is merely a loan. Calm down. A laugh, cold, hollow, humorless, escaped Nathan's lips. A loan? One he had not consented to, one he had not even been aware of. And why? Because they had long ceased viewing him as anything more than an automated teller machine with a beating heart. His blood boiled, but beneath the fury was something else, something deeper, profound, crushing grief. This was his family, the individuals who were supposed to cherish him, support him, stand by him. And yet their affection had always been conditional, so long as he was beneficial, so long as he gave, so long as he sacrificed. He had dedicated his entire existence to prioritizing them. From the moment he was old enough to grasp responsibility, it had been instilled in him that family superseded everything, before his pastimes, before his education, before his profession, before his contentment. And for what? So they could drain him dry and cast him aside when he was no longer convenient? His hands trembled, but this time it was not merely anger, it was clarity, a bitter, ice-cold realization settling in his chest. He was not a part of this family. He was merely a means to an end. Nathan exhaled slowly, pressing his fingers to his temples. He had 2 alternatives. He could do what he had always done, suppress the anger, stifle the resentment, and move forward. He could dismiss this, persuade himself that they did not intend to harm him, that family was family, that he should forgive and forget. Or he could finally do something for himself. He could finally refuse. His jaw tightened, his mind suddenly surging with resolve. He was not going to simply accept this. He was not going to permit them to escape with it. Nathan opened his laptop and swiftly accessed his bank's fraud department. His fingers moved across the keyboard, submitting an official report for unauthorized transfers. The money had been taken without his permission. He possessed every right to dispute it. It did not matter that it was his family. Theft was theft. Next, he logged into his account settings and froze every shared account his family had access to. No more credit cards in his name, no more automatic transfers, no more effortless access. If they desired to exploit someone financially, they would have to seek elsewhere. His phone buzzed again. Jeremy. Dude, cease being selfish. You are the only one of us who has actually succeeded. Do you truly require that money as much as we do? Nathan's grip on his phone tightened. Selfish. That was the term they always hurled at him whenever he dared to establish a boundary, whenever he hesitated to give more, whenever he even contemplated prioritizing himself. But this time, it did not work. It did not wound him the way it once did, because for the first time, he perceived the truth. He had never been selfish. He had given everything, and they had taken it without hesitation. Nathan rose, retrieved his car keys, and exited the door, leaving the empty house behind. His next destination, a legal professional. If they believed they could manipulate him into silence, they were gravely mistaken. He was going to ensure every single cent was returned, and then he was finished. Finished being their safeguard, finished being their personal financier, finished being their victim. The burden on his shoulders already felt lighter. Nathan sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel as he dialed the number for his bank's fraud department. His heartbeat was steady now, no longer fueled by fury but by determination. The past few hours had been a whirlwind of perfidy, but now, as he assumed control, the weight on his shoulders began to dissipate. He was no longer the compliant son, the provider, the one who perpetually rectified his family's errors. He was reclaiming what was his. A soft click echoed through the car's speakers as a representative responded. "Thank you for contacting First Security Bank. How may I assist you today?" "Yes," Nathan stated, his voice firm. "I need to report unauthorized transactions from my savings account. Over $50,000 has been withdrawn without my consent." The representative immediately initiated protocol, requesting specifics and verification. Nathan furnished every detail, transaction dates, account numbers, and the names of the individuals involved. He did not hesitate to state the truth. "My family stole from me." "Understood, Mr. Carter," the representative said after a pause. "Since these transfers were unauthorized, we will commence an investigation and initiate the process of reversing the charges. In the interim, we strongly advise freezing any joint or linked accounts to prevent further activity." Nathan had already planned for that. "Yes, freeze every account they have access to. I desire all connections severed immediately." A few keystrokes later, it was done. His family no longer had access to his finances, no more withdrawals, no more utilizing his name for credit, no more treating his money like their personal piggy bank. As soon as he concluded the call, Nathan's next contact was a lawyer. He had never envisioned pursuing legal action against his own parents and siblings, but this was no longer family drama, this was theft. Within an hour, he was seated in the sleek office of a financial attorney, presenting his case. "I desire every cent returned," he informed the lawyer. "I do not care if they must sell their house, their vehicles, whatever it takes. They took my money without permission, and I am finished allowing them to escape with it." The lawyer nodded. "We can file for fraud charges and financial mismanagement. Given the amount taken, your case is robust. We can also issue a court-ordered asset freeze to prevent them from concealing any funds before repayment." Nathan exhaled. "Do it." The repercussions arrived swiftly. By the end of the week, the investigation confirmed that his parents had indeed transferred the money without consent. The bank began reversing the transactions, and while some of the funds had already been expended on their Florida holiday, they would be held legally accountable for the remainder. Then the legal documents arrived. His parents were served with a lawsuit, and the gravity of their actions began to settle in. Their cherished home, the same one Nathan had helped finance years ago, was now at risk. With their accounts frozen and debt accumulating, foreclosure loomed over them like a tempest cloud. His mother telephoned first, sobbing into the receiver. "Nathan, dear, we did not intend for this to occur. We believed you would not object. We were going to repay you." Nathan's jaw tightened. "Then why did you not ask me first?" Silence. "You knew what you were doing," he continued, his voice cold. "You knew I would refuse, so you stole it instead. Now you are bearing the consequences." "Nathan, please," she whispered. "We are going to lose everything." He swallowed the lump in his throat, but his resolve did not waver. "That is not my concern any longer." He ended the call. His father refused to telephone, too proud to plead, but soon word disseminated, Nathan had officially disowned them. Then came Jeremy and his sister, both equally desperate. Jeremy stormed into Nathan's office, his customary arrogant smirk replaced with panic. "Are you serious?" he hissed, slamming his hands on the desk. "You are actually suing us? Suing your own family?" Nathan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "You stole from me," Jeremy scoffed. "We are family. That money was merely sitting there. You earn more in a year than I will ever earn in my life. What is $50,000 to you?" Nathan emitted a sharp, humorless laugh. And what is $50,000 to you? Enough to ruin your life now that you must confront the repercussions. Jeremy's face contorted with rage. I have a wife, Nathan, a child on the way. What in the hell am I supposed to do without your assistance? Nathan's gaze was unwavering. Figure it out. His sister, meanwhile, adopted a different approach, pleading and guilt-tripping. Nathan, she cried over the phone. We never meant to harm you. Please, the lawsuit will devastate us. Can we not discuss this? There is nothing to discuss, Nathan replied, exhaustion lacing his tone. You all made your choices, now live with them. And with that, he was done. In the subsequent months, the Carter family disintegrated. His parents lost their home. Foreclosure was finalized. Jeremy, unable to rely on Nathan's financial support, defaulted on his mortgage and relocated to a tiny apartment. His marriage, built on comfort and borrowed funds, began to fracture. His sister, accustomed to a life of privilege financed by Nathan's sacrifices, confronted the harsh reality of supporting herself. The family name, once respected in their community, became synonymous with scandal. Friends distanced themselves, business connections evaporated. They had incinerated their soul bridge, and now they possessed nothing. Nathan observed from a distance, unmoved. For years, he had been their support, their safety net, their resolution to every predicament. But he was not their savior anymore. They had taken from him for the final time. Nathan was concluding his morning coffee when he heard a tap at the door. He was not expecting anyone. Glancing at the clock, he sighed and set his mug down. The past year had been the most serene of his life. No guilt-laden telephone calls, no last-minute financial emergencies thrust upon him, no obligations that were not his own. He had severed ties and finally lived for himself. But as he approached the door, a familiar sense of apprehension settled in his chest. He already knew who it was before he even opened it. His mother stood on the doorstep, appearing smaller than he recalled. The once refined, self-assured woman who had dictated his every action now seemed frail, her attire slightly creased, dark circles beneath her eyes. She clutched her purse with both hands, her knuckles white. Nathan, she said softly. He did not step aside. She forced a smile, though it barely held. May I enter? He exhaled slowly and finally nodded, stepping back. She entered hesitantly, her eyes darting around his apartment. It was sleek, contemporary, everything he had constructed for himself, no family photographs, no reminders of the individuals he had left behind. She sat down on the sofa, hands folded in her lap. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, with a deep breath, she whispered, We are in difficulty, Nathan. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. I know. Her eyes flickered up to his, hopeful. Then you comprehend why I am here? Nathan emitted a short, humorless laugh. I do. You are here because you require something, just as always. His mother flinched but persisted. Your father, he lost everything after the lawsuit, after we lost the house. No one desired to conduct business with him anymore. Your brother and sister, they are struggling. And Nathan, Jeremy's marriage dissolved, and your sister, she is drowning in debt. We possess nothing left. He did not respond. She looked at him, her voice trembling. Nathan, we are family. You cannot simply abandon us. I know we made errors, but please, you are the only one who can assist. He finally met her gaze, and the anguish in her eyes would have shattered him once, but not now. No, Mom. His voice was steady, unyielding. Family is not about exploiting someone until they have nothing left. It is not about taking and taking while expecting them to simply accept it. Family is supposed to be founded on respect, on affection. But that was never the situation with us, was it? She blinked rapidly, her lips parting, but he continued. I dedicated my entire life to giving everything to all of you, my time, my money, my aspirations. I sacrificed things I will never regain. And for what? The moment I ceased being useful, you did not just betray me, you stole from me. His jaw clenched. So tell me, Mom, after all these years, after all I did for you, who in this family ever defended me? Tears welled up in her eyes, and she shook her head. We never intended to harm you. But you did, he said, his voice firm. Over and over again. A sob broke from her lips. Nathan, please, we have nothing. He stared at her for a long moment before shaking his head. That is not my concern any longer. Her shoulders trembled as she broke down completely, covering her face with her hands. He watched, unmoved. Do you even lament what you did? He asked. Or do you merely regret that I finally refused? She did not answer. He took a deep breath, standing straighter. I am finished, Mom. I am finished rectifying things for you. I am finished sacrificing myself so you can live comfortably. I have already given you more than enough. Now I am going to live for myself. She sobbed harder, shaking her head. You were never like this before. You were never so cold. Nathan exhaled slowly, a melancholic smile tugging at the corner of his lips. I changed. For the first time in his life, he felt no guilt, no obligation, no burden pressing down on his chest. His mother wiped her eyes, stood unsteadily, and walked toward the door. Before she stepped out, she turned back one last time, as if hoping for a different response. He said nothing.